Do you regret saying that President Biden had a mental acuity? He had a sharpness to him.
I said what I believe to be true.
And you think he was as sharp as you?
Meanwhile, in the midst of all this, you may have noticed that pretty much all headlines right now revolve around, President Trump and the Republicans. It's almost as though the Democrats don't exist, because they kind of don't at this point. They have lost almost the will to resist. Obviously, you have Bernie Sanders and AOC taking private jets to large venues, and that's a thing. But Democrats are kind of struggling for what their message ought to be. Now they have unleashed a new term. It is called dark woke, which is going to go about as well as Dark Brandon did. So you'll recall just a few years ago that in a NASCAR race, people started chanting F Joe Biden. And the anchor who was covering that NASCAR race then suggested the crowd was actually chanting, let's go Brandon. So conservatives, Republicans, we started using the slogan, let's go Brandon, to refer to F Joe Biden. And then the Biden administration, trying to seize back the language, put out memes of old Joe Biden with laser eyes, calling him Dark Brandon. Or they put out memes of him with his sunglasses, grinning. And they call it Dark Brandon. It didn't go well because then he physically died in the middle of the race and then dropped out of the race. So it went very poorly. Well, now they are trying something new. They think that just by adding the word dark to things, it makes it cool, which is really silly. And they're obviously copying right now the Elon Musk memery of dark MAGA. And so now they have dark woke. According to the New York Times, there was a time last summer when the Democratic Party was cool. Yeah, that was really, really a short period of time. And there was a point in time when I was significantly closer to like 150 pounds. It was a moment. And then it went away. Kamala Harris had just stepped in as the Democratic Party's nominee for president in the waning days of brat summer. She went on the popular podcast Call Her Daddy. Tim Walz's outdoorsy drip led to a Chapel Roan-inspired camo trucker hat. The memes were flowing. The party's mood was high. Now, you'll recall that even by the end of brat summer, it was pretty much over for Kamala Harris. The Call Her Daddy appearance was a giant fail and cost her a bunch of money. Tim Walz was never a bro. Nobody ever saw Tim Walz as a bro unless the bros were hanging out at a High School Musical production with jazz hands. But now apparently Democrats are in search of a new memery. So, says the New York Times, as liberals try to get their groove back, some party insiders say Democratic politicians have been encouraged to embrace a new form of combative rhetoric aimed at winning back voters who have responded to President Trump's no-hold-bars version of politics. Online, it has a name: dark woke. According to Bhavak Lathia, a communications consultant and former digital director for the Wisconsin Democratic Party, Republicans have essentially put Democrats in a respectability prison. There's an extreme imbalance in strategy that allows Republicans to say stuff that really grabs voters' attention, where we're stuck saying boring pablum. I see this as a strategic shift within Democratic messaging. I'm a fan of dark woke. So, what exactly is dark woke? Well, during a meeting of the House Oversight Committee last May, Representative Jasmine Crockett, Democrat of Texas, you'll recall her from such hits as suggesting that Marjorie Taylor Greene had a bad butch body before shouting about her fake eyelashes. She is dark woke. And that's because she's very meme friendly. It got her an appearance on Jimmy Kimmel, by the way, when she said that Marjorie Taylor Greene had a, quote, bleach blonde, bad built butch body. Good times. And so presumably, Democrats are very in love with this sort of stuff. Well, good luck to them, because this is not what's going to get you out of the morass. Tax day may have passed, but for millions of Americans, the real trouble is unfortunately just beginning. If you missed that April 15th deadline or you still owe back taxes, the IRS is ramping up enforcement. Every day you wait only makes things worse. With over 5,000 new tax liens filed daily and tools like property seizures, bank levies, wage garnishments, the IRS is applying pressure at levels we have not seen in years. Increased administrative scrutiny means collections are moving fast. The good news? There's time for Tax Network USA to help you. Still self-employed or a business owner, even if your books are a total mess, they have it covered. Tax Network USA specializes in cleaning up financial chaos, getting you back on track fast. Even after the deadline, it's still not too late to regain control. Your consultation is completely free. Acting now could stop penalties, threatening letters, and surprise levies before they escalate. Call 1-800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/Shapiro. You may have missed April 15th, but you have not yet run out of options. Let Tax Network USA help before the IRS makes the next move. Again, you don't want to face down the IRS alone. Tax Network USA will help you out. Call 1-800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/Shapiro. You know what else isn't going to work? Calling Republicans Nazis. Believe it or not, the Democrats are still apparently going to trot out the line that Donald Trump is a Nazi. The latest iteration of this comes courtesy of Larry David, who used to be funny, but apparently lost his sense of humor. I don't remember sitting Shiva for his sense of humor, but somebody should have because it's been dead for a while. In any case, he has a piece in the New York Times titled Larry David, My Dinner with Adolf. And it's supposed to be making fun of the fact that Bill Maher actually went to the White House to meet the President of the United States, which is verboten. You're not supposed to acknowledge that Donald Trump is a human. It is not funny at all. There is literally not a laugh line in the entire piece by Larry David. Quote, imagine my surprise when in the spring of 1939, a letter arrived at my house inviting me to dinner at the old chancellery with the world's most reviled man, Adolf Hitler. I had been a vocal critic of him on the radio from the beginning, pretty much predicting everything he was going to do on the road to dictatorship. No one I knew encouraged me to go. He's Hitler, he's a monster. But eventually I concluded hate gets us nowhere. I knew I couldn't change his views, but we needed to talk to the other side, even if it has invaded and annexed other countries and committed unspeakable crimes against humanity. Now again, is there a laugh line anywhere in here? Also, please explain the similarity between Donald Trump and Hitler. Like, please explain. Has Donald Trump invaded and annexed other countries and committed unspeakable crimes against humanity? If so, please name them. Okay, but Larry David continues along these lines. He was wearing a tan suit with a swastika armband and gave me an enthusiastic greeting that caught me off guard. Frankly, it was a warmer greeting than I normally get from my parents, and it was accompanied by a slap on the back. I found the whole thing quite disarming. I joked I was surprised to see him in a tan suit, because if he wore that out, it would be perceived as unführer-like. That amused him to no end, and I realized I'd never seen him laugh before. Suddenly, he seemed so human. It just goes on in this vein for hundreds of words. And the conclusion is that at the very end of it, Larry David is now a Nazi. So apparently, Bill Maher is also a Trumpy Nazi type. And if you weren't satisfied with that Nazi comparison, Al Gore is still wandering the landscape somewhere. You remember Al Gore. He was vice president under Bill Clinton. Then he ran against George W. Bush, and then he lost to George W. Bush. And then he spent like a decade claiming that all the polar bears were going to die and the entire earth had a fever. Remember that? Well, on Monday, he came back to declare that President Trump's administration was like Nazi Germany. Speaking at an event at the start of San Francisco's Climate Week, according to Politico, Gore said the Trump administration was, quote, trying to create their own preferred version of reality to achieve sweeping objectives, just like, wait for it, Hitler. Quote, I understand very well why it is wrong to compare Adolf Hitler's Third Reich to any other movement. It was uniquely evil, full stop, I get it. But there are important lessons from the history of that emergent evil. Yes, this is just like that time that Hitler signed an executive order to increase the flow on shower heads. It's exactly like that. I mean, man, the parallels are just eerie. Well, one of the problems for Democrats is, of course, that they ain't got nothing. And so if you are down to dark woke and Trump is a Nazi, you're in trouble. Even their thought leaders can't answer basic questions. Elizabeth Warren, the senator from Massachusetts, former Harvard Law School professor, well, she was asked over the course of the last couple of days, she's on a podcast, and she was asked about lying about Joe Biden's mental and physical health. And this is something that the Democrats are not going to be able to live down for quite a while, is the fact they all were complicit in the cover-up of the fact that Joe Biden was brain dead. Here's Elizabeth Warren struggling with this question almost as much as she struggled with the question of her Native American ancestry.
Do you regret saying that President Biden had a mental acuity? He had a sharpness to him. You said that up until July of last year.
I said what I believe to be true.
And you think he was as sharp as you?
I said I had not seen decline. And I hadn't at that point.
You did not see any decline from 2024 Joe Biden to 2021 Joe Biden?
Not when I said that. You know, the thing is, he was sharp. He was on his feet. I saw him. Live event. I had meetings with him a couple of times.
Senator, on his feet is not praise. He can speak in sentences is not praise.
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. Look, the question is, what are we going to do now?
Okay.
That's the question, is what are they going to, well, I mean, I think one of the questions is why you lied for so long about his health and mental acuity. But we know the answer to that. That's what the Democratic Party was deathly afraid that Kamala Harris was going to be the nominee, which of course she ended up being. So we now have a compendium of elderly white people lying to you and people calling Donald Trump a Nazi, and we have dark woke. Do any of these sound great to you? Like Americans, do we have any takers here?
Well, that's all for now, folks. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts down below. Be sure to check out all of the other great content on my channel. I'll see you here next time.